So anyway, that's because I'm obsessed with Spider-Woman. So that's what I was like.
But largely because of Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
Before that. She was before that.
Before that. Did she have her own show?
In the 70s, yeah.
Did she have an origin story in that show?
In every intro.
Oh.
The beginning music. Look, it's Spider-Woman. Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome to Incomplete Geeks. It's a gay geek podcast.
It is. Yes,
where we talk about geeky things. Sometimes we know what we're talking about, but sometimes our knowledge is
a little bit incomplete.
That's John. I'm Nick. Just call us a lab accident with a radioactive spider because our chemistry is off the charts.
That's ridiculous. That was much more elaborate than I was expecting. I quite like it.
We are here this week.
Drinking.
Glasses in hand. Oh, that was shit. Oh, that was still shit. Anyway. This is the last glass of the bottle.
Oh, the current
So
bottle.
enjoy it. I don't have another one.
Oh, okay. Well,
I've got some of that shitty wine. I wouldn't recommend it.
Anyway, if we're desperate.
Thanks for joining us for this week's Drunk Rant.
Drunk Rant.
And this week we're drunk ranting about origin stories. And I have no idea how far we're going to get in this. So the reason why I started with this, because there was a tweet a while back or recently, I don't fucking know. James Gunn replied to a tweet about DCU characters, and his reply was...
Wait. Who's the first tweet from? Some random?
Do you want to know? It's cut off on my screenshot.
A random person. Okay, fine.
So a person, it doesn't matter. And he says, I'm not telling Batman and Superman's origin stories again because everyone knows them. And don't put Swamp Thing in the corner. There's a project into... Anyway, yes. Blah, 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 blah. Something enhanced. So the main point is he's not telling Batman and Superman's origin story again because everyone knows them. And it got me thinking, how many times are we going to see the same fucking origin stories?
Yeah.
How many times have they been done? How many times is too many? How many times have they changed it? How many times are we going to see it, read about it, learn about it, revamp it, reboot it, doobie that, all that kind of stuff?
Once is... long story short, my opinion, once is enough.
Yeah.
With some rare exceptions, I suppose.
In major media, it's very rare that they add anything to it.
Yeah, there's nothing. I mean, unless it's a completely different character, which I'm thinking of a couple examples. So, if it's a completely different character, not just a different adaptation of the same character, we don't need. It's not going to add anything to the story really to show an origin again, because in terms of the character, we're not interested in seeing where they come from again. We want to know that you do something different with it. And if the origin story is exactly the same, that's not different by definition. So we don't need it again. I'm primarily thinking about superheroes, but it
was really difficult for me to find examples outside of superheroes. So most of these will power through a load of them. I've got a few different
power through.
I've got a
load. Keep going.
Cheers to that. We'll power through our loads. There's a few different categories, but we'll start with the origin stories that have been told too many fucking times. And I think the obvious one, based on my intro, is Spider-Man.
Okay.
Which I will say, as a comic book origin story that Stan Lee supposedly wrote, but let's face it was probably Steve Ditko, is a great one. The tragic irony of the fact that he let the guy go, and then the results was direct consequences. Uncle Ben died. It's a great story.
Okay, let's start with Spider-Man, because I think we should talk about Batman Superman as well.
Eventually.
Yeah. Okay. Because that's clearly in my head a lot, because there's been a lot of startings.
It's rebooting. It's been absolutely rebooting.
Spider-Man's a very, very popular character in the world of comic books and films and TV shows, etc. And he's had a lot of we know his story. The pure fact that he has ventured into this multiverse, and such a rich multiverse of spider characters. Every one of them's got their own origin, which is kind of roughly the same. So we know very clearly what the gist of it is. My question for you,
Yes.
about being bitten by a radioactive spider.
Yes.
Obviously, that's a very much an element of its time. What year was it? The very first sort of origin story of in the comic books?
63.
63. So
63? 60.
that makes sense because everything was radioactive back then. We did.
Oh, X-Men was
we
all
didn't
about
know
radiation. The Hulk, it was all radiation.
Hulk is
It was
gamma
the
radiation.
It was the big nuclear vibes time.
Yeah, because we didn't know exactly what that meant as humans. We didn't know what nuclear meant.
Yeah.
And so it was really easy to do. What was his origin story clearly about? How was the spider bite tied to Uncle Ben? Is my question.
It was always his origin story. Like, oh, he got bitten by a spider. He went for fame. Wrestler, cheated out of his winnings. Could have stopped the guy who was robbing the guy. And it's like, man, it's your problem. I don't give a shit. And that guy went on to rob the house and killed Uncle Ben. It's like it's the same origin story.
Okay.
So it's how
So
we
we
go
had-
from like, oh, I discovered my powers to, oh no, I'm actually a superhero. Because it wouldn't have happened in Spider-Man #1. It would have happened in Amazing Fantasy.
Something.
Fill in the dots.
You can put it like
Spider-Man
put a little thing over your mouth. It's like
because Spider-Man wasn't a character. It was a thing they were testing out, and that's his. And the origin story is, yeah, got spider bite, cool, got powers, but the origin story is, with great power comes great responsibility.
So it's interesting because then even if that's not how they intended it at first, he was clearly meant to be like, oh, I'm just going to be a famous person, look how powerful I am. And then was immediately humbled by it, which kind of set the course for him being a superhero.
It's the important part of Marvel in the 60s was Stan Lee and all the other artists wanted these characters to be as grounded in reality as possible compared to over at DC, where they were all fantastical and wonderful. So this was really important that they made him sciencey nerd. His uncle died, and it keeps him humble really early on. Like, this is the character. The character is always, Spider-Man is always a humble character. And, that's important straight away. Which is a great origin. I love it. Whether it was Stan or Steve who wrote it, it's a great origin. But I do not need to see that again.
No.
I don't need to read about it again. I loved Into the Spider-Verse, but even the second one was a bit much when they kept, they played on it a lot with the like, here's my story. And then they did the next, that was fun.
Yeah.
I don't need to see this. I don't ever need to see this again. I don't ever need to see this again. Thank God Tom Holland didn't do it.
Yes, that was a really, really good move.
Such a great move
by that team. Whether it was, I was going to say the Marvel team, but was it a Sony team? I'm not sure.
Kevin Feige was involved. He made sure, and because he was introduced in a Marvel film.
Correct. Oh yeah, that was true.
So they skipped.
He's
that.
not been introduced in any Sony film yet, really, has he? Like mentioned.
His films are Sony films, the solo ones. No Way Home, Far From Home, they're all Sony films. So
the Sony films within the Marvel universe.
So please, don't do it again. And because they got a cartoon coming out, please God, don't do it again.
You don't need to see that again.
Every cartoon, Spider-Man, His Amazing Friends, Spider-Man, the original series, Spectacular Spider-Man, each one of these, every single time, has rehashed that story. And again, it's a great story. This will be like, the 7th time if they do another one. I don't think they will because Tom Holland is kind of like the pop culture version of it.
He's it now, right now.
So for a good 10, 15 years, we're fine. So
you mentioned Into the Spider-Verse and the second one, Across.
Yes.
And like at least with that one, you have different characters, like I said. So they're kind of different. But because the concept is all the same, do they go into a lot of detail with, I'm looking at, because obviously you have to do that a little bit with Miles in the first one because it's his story. But then we don't have, when we get into the second one where it's actually when Gwen Stacy's story, we're kind of like, okay, do we need this? Do they go into too much detail?
No, and I
don't think they do. I think it's okay.
I agree.
Really pushing it though.
I think it's okay because the whole point is it's kind of a play on it. Like, my story.
Yeah, by now,
Here it is. And it's just showing
you literally do know my story.
You know my story. And it's showing the slight variation. So that's a clever way of handling it. But even that's like, oh my God, how many times do we need to hear this fucking story? We know it's a spider. We know there's someone who dies. Please move on.
In the new cartoon, Do you think that it would be better if they just sort of mention it? Because no one's gonna. Who in the world? There's gonna be somebody, but who? How many people in the world are gonna be exposed to Spider-Man for the first time with this upcoming cartoon TV show?
No one.
Nobody.
I don't need it.
We don't need we don't need an episode about it. We don't need. It's gonna be a waste of time. It's gonna be a waste of time. Mention it if you must, but
the thing is, if it's good and it performs really well, they will do a flashback origin story.
ugh, no, don't.
Because like for instance, the example that I know, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends was 83 to 6 or whatever.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So it didn't start with his origin story, but then season 2 they did all their origin stories, which I love, like a flashback kind of origin story. So that was my first kind of time seeing Spider-Man's story. Would have been 80s or 90s, that sort of stuff. So if this one starts, it'll start full tilt. He's Spider-Man. Boom, boom, boom. Let's go. But they'll inevitably do a fucking flashback.
No, I even think they don't
They'll
have to
do a fucking flashback. So Uncle Ben's rice
shouldn't.
can show up. Fucking hell.
Uncle Ben's wives.
Uncle Ben's rice. I was making a fucking pun.
I thought you said something else. Anyway, like even in the MCU, you see Spider-Man in the first film, which he shows up in, which is Civil War. His origin is never mentioned.
We don't need it.
Don't need it. And then in his first solo film, Homecoming, it's a brief. It's like a one line that he says to his friend, which I forget his name. No, what?
Ned.
I was gonna say Ben again, but
No.
when he says it to Ben, I was bitten by a spider. That's it. That's
I
literally
don't want it. I don't need
it.
it. Why not?
Just to give people sort of the confirmation, like, yes, this is the same Spider-Man, as if we needed it, and then that's it. So there in the story there exists an origin, but we don't go into detail. It lasts like a second.
I don't want it.
2 seconds. That's it.
I'll move straight on to another one because it's imminent. Is the Fantastic Four?
Never mind.
We're gonna move straight on to the Fantastic. We can't keep talking about Spider-Man forever.
No, we can't.
The Fantastic Four is the same thing. That we've seen it.
Agree.
Every medium they are in, because I've seen every cartoon they've done. You know, they've done 3 cartoons before, whatever, the 2 different film franchises. Each one had to start with a fucking origin story. And we have is it next year? I think it's next year, right?
I don't know.
They're filming it now because they're both in Gladiator. So
who's both in Gladiator?
Reed and Johnny, Pedro and
Eben Moss
Human
Backrack.
Torch.
No,
Human Torch are both in.
Who's
the English guy who was in Stranger Things? Whoever he is.
Yes. He plays one of the.
So I feel like they're filming it now. So is it next year? Anyway,
I'm looking it up right now.
So we know that's imminent. That another fucking Fantastic Four origin story is coming, and
do we? But we're gonna.
I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't fucking want it. Space rays, bum, powers. Done. I don't need that. Just
bum.
Ba-boom.
Oh, okay. Who's
Powers.
bum? Bum.
Pedro's bum.
Pedro's bum. Daddy's bum.
Daddy. And powers. I don't need it. I don't need the story. I don't need the build-up. It's like, oh, we're all scientists. I don't care. Space race. I don't care. I don't trust Marvel now not to suck doing this.
They've
You got to prove
got
yourself
a big
again.
boulder to move.
You're not in the strongest place for films, and this is the
Mm-hmm.
most difficult fucking franchise you've inherited.
Yep.
I don't want to see it unless they do something really fucking clever with it. I honestly who needs to see it? Who needs to see them go into space? You know, they get the powers from space. They have powers. We're done.
They're gonna go into space in the 60s, and they're gonna use actual science in terms of they're gonna zoom forward at close to the speed of light, which is why they don't age before they come back to Earth in modern days.
Do you think that's what it is?
Yes, that's my personal prediction. That would make sense.
Interstellar vibes, yeah.
How do they get that much power to do that? I don't know. That's a Doom connection, perhaps. But
he's on my list as well.
I don't actually know Doom's origin, but we'll get there. But for the Fantastic Four, it's like I kind of feel like you have to because we've seen it and it's not great.
I don't care.
It's never done. I don't think. Okay, Fantastic Four as a group of characters is really, really difficult to put on screen because works as a comic book. They're just bonkers. The powers are weird.
Works as a cartoon.
Sorry, or as a cartoon. It's easy to sort of. It's cartoonish.
The only one that doesn't work is Reed. Mr. Fantastic's powers look
They look
awful.
weird. It's weird. I mean, the only reason that it worked in the Doctor Strange film when John Krasinski did it is because he was all of his stretchy was far enough away from the screen that the CGI looked believable, and it's still kind of cartoony because of CGI. The CGI is done well, but you can't. It's going to be difficult to do that, which is why they didn't do it with Kamala Khan either. I think that's why they didn't.
Of course, because it's such a power that's so ugly and looks shit on screen.
Yeah.
So that's why they chose the light powers. And
yeah.
You know what? I'm not mad about it.
I'm not mad about it. I support that
decision.
But in terms of, they get it from, again, cosmic radiation. And if they're going to do that by just being in a solar flare,
but they've changed it multiple times. Like the cartoon in the 90s, which was garbage. The variation on it was that like it was either the Silver Surfer or Galactus went through something, and then the cosmic radiation changed because they were there, and that's why they got power. So they're basically linked to the power cosmic. That works, but also I've seen it. I've seen this in the 90s. I've seen this in 2000s. I've seen this in 2000. What was it?
Recently, I don't know.
9, whatever. We don't. Anyway, I don't.
Yeah.
But we have to. So I know it's coming.
I mean,
and that's what scares me.
The other thing that annoys me about their origin story is that, unlike Spider-Man, where he's bitten by a spider, he gets powers that are kind of related to being a spider. Fantastic Four, they just kind of go through some radiation and suddenly they can stretch. One turns into a rock, one can turn invisible, one turns into flame. Like, what?
So, okay, the crappy 90s cartoon did this when they were in space and kind of works. I don't know if they ever did it. So, like, when the, like, in the cosmic radiation and like, oh, everything's crashing and that sort of stuff. Things crash. Johnny's on fire.
He's it's on fire.
Yeah, because there's like, the ship is exploding and they're like, oh my God, it's flames and that sort of stuff. Reed's trying to reach to help and that sort of stuff. Ben is trying to pick stuff up to help Johnny and that sort of stuff. So it's like all of this shit going on. These are the things they're trying to do when they're hit by the cosmic radiation. Sue, I don't know what she's doing. She's like, I don't know. Woman, who cares? But you know, at least they're
shielding herself.
At least they're trying to like, I can't reach that far when the thing hits, and he's like, oh fuck, the fire's on me when it hits, and that sort of stuff. It's the only one that's tried to make sense, like you said, of we're hit by things, and these are why we got these powers. It's the only one I've seen that's tried to do it. Tell me in the comments if I'm wrong.
I will tell you right now. Actually, they do attempt to do it in the Chris Evans version with Ewan Griffith and everybody and Jessica Alba.
They just get
because
they don't do anything with it.
But I do remember thinking at the time that they tried to. I don't know if it was like an offline or whatever, but it sort of amplifies what they're trying to do. Like he's trying to be this hot shot. Reed is trying to do everything all at once, kind of thing.
Burns
Ben
trying
to be like a strong man. Yeah, it's kind of like the explanation is that the cosmic radiation amplifies things that they're trying to already do. So
because he stretches himself to that.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway,
again, I don't know what Sue's doing.
I don't know. She's shirking away from her responsibility.
Yeah, I don't. But the thing is,
I don't know how they're going to do it.
I don't know.
I don't trust that they're going to do it well. But Daddy Petro's in it, so
because if they were to appear. If they did this, if they pulled a Spider-Man, and if one of them was to appear in another film before their film, I don't know, would that be enough? You still have to see their origin because it's a film about them, right?
I'd be happier if their origin was about the origin of their situation rather than the origin of their powers, because we need to see why their 60s things. Explain. Where have they been?
Oh yeah, the fact.
So if that's their origin story, is like where we've been for the past X years and why we didn't help with Thanos. Fine, rather than an origins like, ooh, space powers. Fuck off.
Yeah, okay.
Can we move on from Fantastic
Don't do
Four?
it.
It's depressing me.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Do you want to talk about Batman?
Yeah, let's do it.
Like which? Because I don't.
How many times do you have to see his parents being shot when he's a kid? Like, okay, I get it. You don't see that with Ben Affleck's Batman, though, do you? Do you?
I think you do.
You do actually, because
I'm pretty sure you get like.
Doesn't he have like traumatic flashback?
They'll have a flashback. You even see it. Like oh my God, I love Harley Quinn. It's a fucking great show. Even in that, we have to do Batman's origin, and that's a.
What do you mean,
satire.
Harley Quinn show?
Have you seen Harley Quinn?
The
animated show.
Animated show, no.
Mate.
What?
Mate.
I'm not a complete geek.
Get on board. It's so good.
When was it out? Is it recent?
I don't know if it's just finished.
Okay, if it's brand new, then
It's very new. It was on Channel 4. That's weird. The only way to get it. Yeah, it's an HBO show or something like that.
A TV show.
Yeah, animated show with Kaylee Cuoco as Harley.
Really?
And oh shit, I'm really sorry. I've forgotten Poison Ivy. The actor's brilliant. She does the voice of Black Widow in the animated shows. Great.
Oh, I don't remember the name.
But great.
Yeah, but she's good.
So it's a great show. But even in that, in this ridiculous swearing, alcoholic, tit busting show,
is it like an adult animation kind of thing?
Oh, they swear and they're lesbian sexing and
is it that
doing
one?
Cocaine and all that sort of stuff.
With the writing.
Yeah, that'll be it. Even that, they do Batman's origin, which is fun.
Lake Bell.
Lake Bell. I fucking love Lake Bell. She's brilliant. Even in that, and it's very satire because the guy doing the voice of Bruce Wayne was the voice of Batman in Batman the Brave and the Bold, if you know it.
Okay.
And it's also great and it's hilarious, but even then you got to go back and do the thing. Every time there's a movie, and I love DC animation, I will watch every single movie they do. But every time they do a cross the universe, Earth One, or anything they do with these animated movies, you gotta see that fucking alleyway.
Yeah,
and the guy shooting
Dark
the mom.
alleyway.
The guy shooting
after the
pearls
opera.
falling down after the Zorro film. Every single time. Did you watch?
Oh, it was a film. I thought it was an opera. Was it probably?
No,
a film?
I think it was a film.
Okay.
Did you watch The Batman with Robert?
Yes.
Pattinson? Did they do it in there?
I don't recall it.
Interesting. Okay, that's good.
I think that's because that is definitely meant to be an adaptation of his early years where he's not quite good at everything. Like his Batmobile kind of sputters and doesn't work at one point when it's like, oh, he's not got everything perfect. I think it's more about his journey within the world of Gotham trying to become a superhero. So I think there's a lot of time for his childhood trauma. I don't remember it being in there. I could be wrong, but I don't remember it being a part of the film.
So what you're saying is it's possible to do the beginnings of a character arc without having to do the same fucking origin story.
Because you know there's the Penguin show on now, which is a sequel to that film. It's meant to be a follow-up because Colin Farrell, it does appear as Oswald Cobb.
Cobblepot?
It's just Cobb because Cobblepot's a weird fucking name. So it's Oswald Cobb.
I like Batman
and all of these characters are brand new and a bit weird. And what are you doing in this world? And so Batman kind of just fits into that. You've got Catwoman, who is not Zoe Kravitz. Is it Zoe Kravitz? Anyway,
in the film it was.
In the film, yeah. So she's great as well. And the film is mostly kind of makes sense. And it's kind of like an interesting kind of introduction to these characters, including Batman and also Penguin before he's called the Penguin, and Catwoman and the Riddler is the main antagonist in that film. The end. Yeah, it was all right. Yeah, that's a good example of what you.
So that's a good example. Okay, I didn't.
Matt Reeves is the Batman is a good example. Now, again, I could be wrong. Maybe it does appear, but I don't remember.
I didn't think that was going to go that way.
If it was in there, I don't remember it, and so maybe it wasn't a big deal, which I think is a lesson you can take from it.
Comment below if it was, and John is an idiot and an incomplete geek. You can comment in the Spotify section. Do it now.
Are you encouraging them to
slag us both
tell
off.
me that I'm wrong?
Slag us
It's
both
fine
off because
if I'm
we're
wrong.
going to do more stuff that I'm leading, and I'm going to get it all wrong now. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to keep going with more ones that have been done too many times, or do you want to do some little different categories?
Whatever you think makes sense.
So I've got
Lay it on me.
Other categories. I put these things into origins that nobody asked for. Can they do better? And origins we want to see.
Let's do. Can they do better?
Can they do better? I feel
like I'm on a game show.
Okay.
I'll take. Can they do better for 500?
So
Nick.
I've got three and a half here because I'm not qualified to talk about the other half.
Okay.
So I'm going to start
with one you know of that we can talk about.
Catwoman.
And when you say can they do better, do you mean like can the character do better, or can the adaptation do better?
So this is a story about, we've seen these origin stories so many times. I still want one, but I want a better one in mainstream media. We're not talking about source material because we know we can't talk about comic books because it's too much. So Catwoman, I would still watch the shit out of it, but I want it done better. Every time, like since Michelle Pfeiffer, it's gone like ugh. I would still watch if they did it, but I want it to be better because it's always an afterthought, and she's like a guest character and that sort of stuff. I want her origin story done better.
Good. I think that's a good place to start. Catwoman is such an interesting character.
Such a fucking great character that could go on forever, and she could have shows and films, whatever.
She could be her own fucking lead, and
massively. But they ballsed it up with that Catwoman film, and I do think
one?
The famous worst film of all time,
Halle Berry one. Sorry, Halle Berry.
And it's still not recovered from that. I don't think the IP is recovered from that, even though Anne Hathaway, I think, was a very good Catwoman.
She was
and
very.
Zoe Kravitz would have been a good Catwoman. I didn't see it, but people say she was a good Catwoman.
I really liked her. I really liked her in the film. I'm just gonna make sure that it definitely is her.
Yeah, in the Matt Reeves one.
It is her. Yeah,
it's Zoe Kravitz.
Matt Reeves.
So it's a character that works really well. Like, different actors can play all that sort of stuff. It's not very rigid with that sort of thing. But her origin story is still remembered as that fucking Halle Berry film.
Well, I think they copied it from Michelle Pfeiffer's, isn't it? Because she just basically has I don't actually know.
Well, it's a different Catwoman. It's not even Selena Kyle.
Is it? Okay.
It's Patience.
Is it Phillips? Patience Phillips? Anyway.
Some shit. It's not even Selena Kyle. Like, who is this Catwoman? It's not even a real Catwoman. So I love Michelle Pfeiffer's one. I watch it every Christmas. It's so good. But it was such a side character.
She's a side character.
I want it better.
She's meant to be a camp. She's
Yes,
totally
in
camp.
that one it was absolutely.
And it's like as the character progresses, even through video games, like I don't know, you're not much of a gamer, but anytime you can play as like I'm thinking specifically of games like Arkham Asylum, Arkham City.
Yeah.
Like you can play as, especially in City, you can play as Catwoman for like a bunch of side quests, and she's just cool, and she's like not entirely villainous, and she's like
self-interested.
She's self-interested, yeah.
And I love
but not always. She'll help out,
She's not terrible.
No.
That's the thing. With the number of times we've seen Batman redone.
Yeah, he's always such a goody two-shoes.
She's such a perfect antithesis, maybe not, but like such a perfect companion to the Batman.
She's a
IP
perfect foil to Batman.
You could have done that. You could have done a Catwoman over and over and over and over and over and over again. I mean, in the original TV show in the 60s, like they had a couple of different Catwomen. And
did they?
Because they had a white one and then they had Eartha Kitt.
I didn't know about the white one.
I don't remember her name. I'm so sorry. I don't really care. Eartha Kitt.
Yeah.
I love Eartha Kitt. So, there's so many different ways you can use just the vibes of Catwoman. You can just, I don't know why they haven't used her over and over again. And I want her origin story to be good and not, oh, here's this magical cat
near death experience and gets brought to life.
It is
like
a woman
cats.
who's fucking had it, and I'm not doing your shit anymore. I'm stealing stuff, and it's great. Did you watch the Batman cartoon on Amazon?
No.
The new one?
Oh! I saw like one episode, and I forgot.
I watched it when I had tonsillitis, and I was dead for like 2 weeks. We'll do a separate one about that.
I have seen. Yeah.
Moist. It was so good.
I think because the character has changed, the backstory has changed so much. They have the opportunity to do something different with it. And I don't actually know what her original origin is.
I don't know what it is either.
But if she's just a person who's
do it, James.
Like the Batman, he's not got superpowers. He's just a really smart, really square person who can do these. Who's strong, whatever. Why not? Why can't make Selena Kyle the same thing? She's just a really smart person, really agile, if not strong. Then basically like doing her own shit because, like you said, she's had it in a world like Gotham, where even in the Joker film, it's like a person who's just fucking had it.
It's because she's a woman.
Yeah,
Batman and Joker fill a very particular
not
need
a
of like
superpower,
these
just a person who's had it.
plain ass, boring ass men can feel like I could be Batman. I could be that. So, but they don't give a shit about giving that same thing to women. So,
which I love how they play on that in Batman, Dark Knight Rises, where they actually have like people trying to be Batman and just failing. But yeah,
Catwoman, I think easily done. You just need a good writer and make it fucking great.
Yeah,
great. I want more of that.
That was I know you haven't seen the second Joker film. I
haven't seen either of them.
The first one is not terrible, but I understand why people like. I love it. Oh, it's just again.
It's not for me.
It's a character who is struggling with his own things that you don't really see Arthur Fleck. The character's called Arthur Fleck, and he just becomes the Joker, and it's really sort of it's a person who's had it with the world. And then a lot of the criticism of the second film was because it should have been Harley's film, whereas you see Harley as a person who is just a bit outside of this main storyline, which they decide to focus on Joker again. But if they were to make Harley Quinn the central character as someone who's been radicalized by seeing this person on screen, this Joker character who is just had enough, and then this person who's been roped into this cult in a way and becomes Harley Quinn through that, it could have been a lot better a story. That's what I've heard. But they didn't, because she's a female, so we can't rely on females to hold films together.
Joker was my half one. I was like, I don't feel qualified to talk about Joker. I feel like Joker is a whole episode. I messaged Del earlier on to be like, what's your thoughts on Joker?
Oh,
and
really?
He's like, I don't have time to talk about this right now. he sent me some stuff and he's like, I'm a bit busy with stuff right now. I don't have time to deal with this right now. It's like, oh, fair enough. We should do a whole Joker episode, because I feel like Joker is such a straight icon. Like Batman is. It's such a world of straightness that I don't want to delve into.
Fine, that's fine.
So
I will just say about Joker is that, again, I don't know his origin story technically. I don't think it's explained in the comics. From what I've read, it is.
Yes. Yes.
All I can to talk about the Joker film, which I was just mentioning, is like that is a very clear. It is an origin film, and it pulls it off fairly well in terms of that being how he becomes Joker. Again, I don't need to see that again. It's done. Like if it's done well, we can move on.
I don't want to see it again. All right. Another Can They Do Better?
Yes, go ahead.
To kind of carry on with that, because I think that was quite fun. For me personally, Can They Do Better origin story? Rogue.
Okay.
Because her origin story sucked. Because the Rogue, basically the whole portrayal
Which
of Rogue,
one sucked?
All of them.
Okay.
All of them. Apart from X-Men 97. X-Men original. The animated series. That's a good origin story.
Okay. Because she's... Oh, yeah. Because that...
Did you watch that? Did you ever see the Rogue's Tale one?
Yeah, because it's how she... Because she goes back to Carol Danvers.
Yes.
In the hospital. And I was just thinking, like, what happens to Carol at the end of that?
I honestly think that is one of the few situations... I think this is another topic, but I think that is one of the few situations where the cartoon did it better than the comic. That scene where you flash back to see Rogue stealing Carol's powers, where she doesn't want to do it, she's really pushing against it, and you see Carol fighting for her life, and you see it. It's so good. And then in the films we get Marie
Dancanto. She kisses a boyfriend.
Marie who kisses a boyfriend who wasn't even called Cody. Like, I think they called him David. It's like, it's so iconic that the first boy she kisses is called Cody, and then he dies.
I do remember that from the
cartoon, from the comics. And there's like, I think he's called David in the thing. Like, you suck. You suck. So I'm obviously a massive Rogue fan. So I feel like this is, again, like Catwoman, it's like that is a wonderfully messy, complex backstory to show.
You should be able to tie that in with Mystique as well.
Wonderfully, and Carol. Yeah. And can you imagine if Brie renews her contract and they do a thing where they introduce the Rogue character and steals her fucking powers?
Crazy.
I would lose my mind. That
would be amazing.
Oh, good. It would take Carol in a new direction where she's like not got her cosmic powers for the first time in like 30, 40 years. And then this new 17-year-old girl has these powers and her memories. It's such a great story in the comics. And I know it's difficult and messy, but we're in a position now in the messy world that we could do it. So if they deserve better, and it's good.
If and when they decide to bring in the X-Men, whether or not they do it like a separate universe, I don't know. That seems where they're going.
I know.
We'll never not talk about X-Men
on
this episode, on this in the show. But yeah, that is so easily done, and they should fucking do it.
So good, so complicated, so emotionally tragic, which is why I've always loved Rogue.
And
It's-
female-centered.
That's also why I love Rogue. But also so that's it's one of my can they do it better? And I really hope they can, because I think those kind of stories would resonate well. They just need to have the balls to do it.
And to do it well, get the writing
Take your
done.
time with these characters and do it well.
Get a female director as well.
Please.
For that film.
Get a female writer, I think even.
Yeah.
Write this fucking story. And it would be amazing if Brie could still be involved. That would be... Because it's such a pivotal part.
Because she's still around.
It's such a pivotal part to her character in the comic books. It's such a wonderfully unique, horribly depressing struggle.
Yeah.
To involve Carol, who was this weird second string Avenger, but became super famous because she was part of Rogue, who was super duper popular. And I would love it.
And Carol
it's
is super powerful already anyway, that they need to find something to do with her.
And that makes her character way more interesting.
Yeah, if she suddenly does, if she
down.
permanently doesn't have her, how does she get it back? Does she ever get it back in the comics?
Do you want to know?
Tell me in 10 words or less.
The Brood experiment on her, and she gets more powers, but doesn't gain all her memories back.
Who's Brood?
Oh, that's a great story.
Okay.
We'll come back to that.
That's fine.
So Rogue. They can do better with Rogue.
Yeah.
So we have high expectations. So
we've basically only got 2 origin stories in media for us of the comics. We got the 90s TV show, and we have the X-Men.
We have X-Men Evolution. We have Wolverine and the X-Men.
Again,
cartoons. And we have all the films. All of which suck butt. Outside of that. Any moving version of her,
of her.
Like,
okay, I was like, the films don't suck.
3 out of her origin. Rogue sucks in the films,
and I love Anna Paquin actually.
I don't, but though she sucks. Rogue sucks so much gnarled ass in those fucking films.
She's a bit of a noodle. She's a bit of a wet noodle in those films.
In 3, she gives up her powers because a boy who's a gay boy. Fuck off. Anyway, okay. Shall I power through a few?
Go ahead. I'm just
So I've got a section called Origin Stories Nobody Asked For.
Go ahead.
And I'm going to power through them all, and then you can choose which ones you want to talk about.
Oh my god, this is good. I'm going to hate this.
No, you're fine. No, there's only a few of them.
Okay.
Buzz Lightyear, Maleficent, Cruella, Wonka, Despicable Me, Han Solo, Craven, and Venom.
I've only got a couple of them. Just a couple.
It's all the Disney ones and then a couple of Sony's.
Go slower.
The Disney ones, I feel the origin stories that nobody fucking asked for.
Okay, Buzz Lightyear, I didn't mind that film. I thought it was cute. I thought it was fine to give him an origin. I like how the person of Buzz Lightyear looks different than the toy, because that's how it happens in real life. Like, it's not actually, you get a copy of, the face, different voices, whatever. It works as a film. Like, it's fine. Bit science-y. I like that. Who's next? Maleficent. Didn't need it.
That sucked. She is the most iconic, brilliantly crafted Disney villain ever.
Yeah.
And that fucking
one of the first.
Angelina film tries to make her an anti-hero and ruins. Like, name a Disney villain that is better than her.
Hold on.
To make her nice.
It was part of the trend at the time to take these classic villains and kind of give them a spin.
Yes, they're the others on my list.
They give a spin to make it, maybe they're not that bad. Maybe she's just misunderstood. Like, okay, fine. It was cute. It was fun. I didn't need it.
No,
I didn't need it.
We didn't need it. Didn't need it. Cruella, another one. A great villain. Let villains be villains. That's the point. Don't try and give her a backstory, because the backstory.
You talking about the Emma Stone film?
Yeah, which I didn't hate the film, but basically, Emma Thompson was Cruella.
Yeah,
basically, and it was completely pointless. And she's such a charismatic, ballsy, lesbian-coded villain who is so iconic.
Emma Thompson or Cruella?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm tangled. I'm tangled in my cables.
Speaking of tangled.
Oh no, I'm not tangled. Such an iconic villain to try and introduce this again. Bad accent. We've talked about this before. People who can't do an accent don't do an accent. Who's Emma doing an English accent?
Which Emma?
Emma Stone.
Oh, she's done English accents before,
and they've always sucked.
See what? The favorite was alright. I didn't hear anything.
Oh no, it was awful.
Was it? I can't speak. I'm not a native English speaker.
No, terrible. Trying to make these characters something, you're changing the character. So when I watch the 60s cartoon, I'm supposed to be like, oh, but she was an orphan, and oh, she had a hard childhood. I don't want that. She's this crazy, anorexic, chain-smoking furrier who you fucking hate because she's a crazy bitch, and you're trying to make her, oh, but let's see her side of the story. No, sometimes people are just evil. Let people be evil, because that's so much more compelling than this wishy-washy, watered-down crap.
Yeah.
I have an opinion.
I'm fine. I'm enjoying it. I've not seen that film, but...
Wonka was another one. I haven't seen it because who the fuck gives a fuck about Wonka's origin story with Timothée Chalamet? Did you watch it?
No, but I've heard good things about it.
From who?
Sorry, did a dong. From who? From reviewers, I think. Like, it was like, from what I hear, he was actually all right. It was a fun family film, which is why I won't watch it.
No, it sounds like a wishy-washy display.
But also, I don't need it because
I don't need it
because that character.
Didn't ask for it. I don't need it.
Gene Wilder was like the essential, like the best Willy Wonka ever, you know, and like Johnny Depp, fine.
He
like,
did his own version of it, which I get, and it made it
fine.
sellable. But Gene was so creepy and brilliant in that role.
Yeah, creepy.
It was great.
And I
didn't
need it. I didn't need an origin story for him. No,
I don't need that. Despicable Me, I'm going to browse over that because I haven't seen it. Han Solo, I've got, because a lot of people hated Solo.
The film?
Yes.
Yeah, really? I thought...
It bombed and is
terrible.
Yeah. I actually quite liked it.
I heard good things about it, but I think it bombed for weird... Like, it didn't sell well.
Oh, no, it's not a good film, but he's sexy.
Oh, is that why?
That's why I like it.
That's why people like him in the original Star Wars films, because he
captured
sexy, roguish
scoundrel.
The
the straight guy I went to see it with said he didn't capture the charm, whereas I'm like, I feel he's way more charismatic than Harrison Ford ever was, but maybe it's because I fancied him.
Okay.
Oh no, wait! And then Lando was in it, and it was Donald Glover.
Donald Glover,
was so charming and so sexy, but maybe it was too sexy for straight men, and they didn't like it. And their target audience should have been straight men because it's Star Wars and
because it's
Han Solo, and it was too. And we had Emilia Clarke, two sexy guys in it, and then
Emilia Clarke in it. I forget
his ex-girlfriend or some shit.
Okay,
whatever.
fine.
So we loved that, and she did like a flippy kick or whatever. So it wasn't. They didn't do it for the straight men, and it should have been for the straight men.
Interesting. Oh, interesting.
So, like,
didn't sound well.
Who would have wanted it? Like, nobody asked for that. Like,
Yeah.
the straight guys didn't want that. So,
No.
origin stories. And we've got Craven and Venom. Like, Craven. Like, I will watch it. I thought it was supposed to be out, like, last month. Where's it been? Have we missed it?
The previous ones have been doing so bad. Like, what are they? I don't know.
Has it been out? Have we missed it?
I don't think it's not been out yet.
Where's my phone? Oh,
it's filming. You dickhead.
It's there. I thought I will watch it because Aaron Taylor is
you fancy
ripped and sexy as
Aaron Taylor
fuck. But no one wanted that. None of us have asked for a Craven origin story. It's again
December. Friday the 13th.
All right, I'll watch it.
My birthday and Taylor.
Oh shit! Of course, you and Taylor's birthday.
Yeah, of course.
No one wants this. Like,
no one asked for
this
it.
This is such an old school villain. Like, he's a Russian hunter. Like, you can't really. I mean, you could modernize it because there are terrible people now. Just make him a modern, terrible person. But you're Maleficenting him. You're trying to make him he's an eco-warrior.
All of those anti-heroes have been sort of...
Stop it. He's just a fucking villain. We don't need to make these people nice.
Yeah.
Just have some fucking evil people.
Could you imagine if they did like every single one of Spider-Man's villains in his little
made them
rogue gallery,
nice.
made them like, oh, they're just misunderstood. Imagine if there was like
No.
I don't know. There's a Dr. Octopus film where he's just trying.
Doc Ock is actually one of the
He was
understandable
betrayed by Osborn or whatever.
Probably.
And it's just like, what?
I mean, I've got on my list of please God, no, never again is Green Goblin. Please God, no, never again
Origin
Green
story?
Goblin.
No.
I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't
Well,
want
you can't top Willem Dafoe's portrayal of him just slowly
I'm
descending into
something of a
madness.
scientist too. No.
You what?
I'm something of a scientist too.
Oh,
That's
it's a
just
line.
Like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah, yeah.
no, I can't do that.
Yeah, he's great. No, we're done. I don't want like I don't know. I remember there was a trailer for Kraven the Hunter, just very quickly about him, because people were concerned that he got his powers by having a drop of lion's blood fall into his wound or something bizarre like that.
Is that what happens in the film?
In the trailer. It's in the trailer, and people are like, "What the fuck?"
Doesn't he
like,
take drugs? He takes drugs
in the film. I don't know.
in the comics, in like the cartoon. Like
he wears a fucking lion's mane as a jacket, and like he's got
he's got like a dead animal on his shoulders, and you're trying to rebrand him as like an eco warrior. It's like no, he's literally not. He's like the fucking Russian aristocracy who hunts these animals for fucking fun.
For fun, like that's his whole point. And it worked as a character. Apparently,
it's a great character
because it was so successful and it was so long lasting.
He's literally a mustache twirling villain.
Yeah,
because he's got a little teeny tiny mustache. That's fine. You can still leave him as just some people are just bad. It's this bullshit of like, oh, we need to meet in the middle. Sometimes like understand both sides of the situation. No, sometimes people are wrong. Sometimes people are bad.
This is not like
this isn't a political podcast, but if it was, you know what I'm talking about. So I've got a list of a few origin stories I want to see. Though,
okay.
Which I don't.
So you mean they haven't been adapted?
They haven't been adapted in like big media.
Fine. Okay.
And these are the ones that I've kind of pulled from lists. I'm not going to do that one because I've changed my mind about ones I really want to see. And I'm going to start with one that I think you'll agree with.
Okay.
Like I would be excited to see an origin story of Gambit.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, you know, he's my favorite
because we all know the end result of this quite stereotypical character. He's
very caricatured in terms of being a Louisiana sort of Cajun thieves guild.
I really like the idea because he's interesting as a character, not because of his powers. So like a good opposite, Rogue, she's interesting because of the situations her powers have gotten her into. Like her story is because of her powers. His powers are not his story.
Correct.
And I feel that is a really fun area to explore because you can do all the gangstery kind of shit that straight guys love, and it is true to his character of, you know, a thieves guild in New Orleans, all these kinds of weird stylized cool stuff, which is true to his character. We haven't really delved into that results in this kind of end of suave. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm a good guy, but
I got this
still
this
a good
history
fuck.
Where
all this
bad boy.
We know what the end point is, and we know it's a messy. We know the wife, all this kind of stuff. But I feel that you can do whatever you want with that. It could be a very human story. You don't have to have the magical powers of all that kind of weird, messy comic book stuff.
You mean like the voodoo kind of stuff?
Yeah, they have like the benefactress and Candra and all that kind of stuff, which I love in the comic books. But you don't need that to still be a compelling story of this adopted, lost, wayward, charming, charismatic thief that then figures out why he wants to be a good guy, because he doesn't decide it straight away. He decides it when he meets Storm. I feel that's a really fun, cool story.
Yeah.
That you could show, and then he still ends up as this caricature in X-Men 97. Like, it doesn't take away from that. You don't have to. It doesn't
betray the character's current backstory. You
don't have to mute the campness that he ends up with to tell a cool story, which I know is difficult sometimes when you cross mediums. Like, if they're really camp and cool in a comic or a cartoon, when you make it in a film or a TV show, you're like, you have to make it a little bit more flatline. And I think you could do that, and he could still be the Gambit that end up as the Gambit that we know and love. Yeah,
that's a good point, because he's not a sort of frontline character so much that people already know his backstory.
No, that's not his iconicness. Isn't his backstory?
His only appearances, like in big media, like you don't actually see where he doesn't go into it. You get it in that awful Wolverine film, which you don't mention it, and then of course the Deadpool one. God
Channing.
bless Chan Chan.
Bless Chan Chan. That's so good.
It's so good for him.
Yeah.
I think he's a bit too buff for it though.
You can't do it now. No. I want the
The new one has to be
teenage
like a
kid.
sort of, you know.
I think that'd be really cool because you can do whatever.
No,
you
you
want
need a
with
young adult. I don't want teenagers.
Okay.
Teenagers don't have the emotional range
I
to
agree.
play
No,
adults.
I agree.
And I know that you want to cast them young, Disney. I know you want to be able to keep
Then
them for
keep
years.
them for 30 years.
But
yeah.
don't cast teenagers, please.
No,
I mean,
they
you
don't
lucked out with
because
Tom Holland, and that's
that was a
it.
fluke.
That was a fluke.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
I've got Galactus here as well because I'm
Okay.
interested in that, but I don't know how they would do it. But I'll go on, and I've got Corsair, which you can't talk about because we haven't met him yet.
related to Phoenix in some way.
Yes, so we'll see his story in our Patreon read along.
Oh yes, we should mention that. We have a Patreon read along, which is available to subscribers on Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/gaygeeks, give us $1 a month. I mean, that's hardly anything. So you have access to all this fun stuff.
We're doing a read along of the original Phoenix Saga before it becomes a Dark Phoenix Saga, and if you know, you know, Corsair's story is in there, and that is a bonkers fucking origin story. And I'm going to leave it at that because we can't talk more about it.
Fine.
These are now very...
And he's not like appeared in any sort of big media.
No, and that's why you could do whatever the fuck you want with it. Think of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who gave a shit about them? Corsair's actually maybe Corsair's too similar to Guardians of the Galaxy because he's also that. Anyway, tell me, I don't know why I'm looking at the laptop. Tell me, dear listeners and dear viewers, if you think Corsair would make an interesting story, or is it too similar to Guardians of the Galaxy? Let me know.
Please write in because I have no idea. We need to entertain Nick somehow.
It could go either way. I've got a couple others which are probably very
niche.
Well, not very me. Like
Okay.
they're very one-sided. This is not as objective.
This is still in the
podcast.
category of origin stories I want to see.
This is the origin stories I fucking want to see.
Okay.
Spider-Woman.
Of course. I want to see something.
You all know that I fucking love Jessica Drew. I am obsessed with that story. And her origin story in the comics is so messed up. It is so complicated and retconned and gross and weird so many times. I want mainstream media to take a crack at that if they do it well.
I think that Jessica Drew Spider-Woman has to be a big swing, whatever happens with like if it's a film in the future or some TV show. Hopefully, it's a big enough TV show. Enough people want to see it. It has to have to do it big and do it well.
Yeah,
I don't think you can throw that character to the sidelines and be like, oh, by the way, she's here and she's had this sort of. This is her history. This is why she's here. I mean, the fact is, like, it's very difficult because her name is Spider-Woman, which means she's kind of tied up with. Like, where does she belong? Does she belong with Sony Spider-Verse, or does she belong in the MCU? Or is she like?
Yeah, she's
is
one
she
of the
an
ones
Avenger? Is she like, where does she go?
She's like the Maximoff twins, but the other way. Like, she's one of the characters that spread like or had her rights split between Disney and another one, because obviously she's a Spider character, so Sony has some rights to that.
Mm-hmm.
But she is an Avengers character.
Yeah.
So,
and her power set, just because she's called Spider-Woman doesn't. And I know she's in like the Beyond the Spider-Verse film as well, but like she's not a Spider-Man. Do you know what I mean?
No, she's not a Gwen.
She's not a Gwen or a Miles.
She's not a universe's version of Spider-Man. She's Spider-Woman.
Yeah, she's a different character.
Which
completely.
I know Gwen is called Spider-Woman, but she's that universe's version of Spider-Man. So I don't know what they will do with it. And I honestly don't know how they would do it, which is why I want them to do it.
Yeah. We need to have talks about this.
I feel like they would need to do it like they did with Tom. They would need to introduce her fully formed, so that people love her as a fully formed character.
Yeah. Do you imagine the shit that we went through? The turmoil thinking that Emilia Clarke was playing Jessica Drew in that Secret Invasion
I
TV
was so
show.
excited for
Like,
so
oh my
long.
God,
She would have been a good Jessica Drew.
I think she could have pulled it off. But like even
great.
if the captions had what did the captions say? Like they released some sort of red herring. Oopsie, we put her as anyway, I don't remember.
So I don't know how they would do it. And if there's a market for it in more feminizing Spider stuff.
I mean, we had Madam Web, which is
Shut
very
up.
feminine.
Shut up.
There's 3 Spider Women in that one.
Shut up. Yeah, I pray thankful to the Marvel gods that they didn't use Jessica Drew in that they used Julia Carpenter Spider-Woman rather than Jessica Drew, the
Sydney Sweeney.
That one. So thank God they used Julia Carpenter for her rather than Jessica Drew, because now we still have an out. So anyway, that's because I'm obsessed with Spider-Woman. So that's what I was like.
But largely because of Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
Before that. She was before that.
Before that. Did she have her own show?
In the 70s, yeah.
Did she have an origin story in that show?
In every intro.
Oh.
The beginning music. Look, it's Spider-Woman, who, as a child, while visiting her father's laboratory, was bitten by a dangerous spider. Forced to use his untested spider serum, Dr. Drew not only saved his daughter's life, but unknowingly gave her incredible spider-like powers.
Wow.
Whilst weaving her web of justice, it's Spider-Woman! So anyway, they can't do that. But anyway, it's messier in the comics. So I don't know how they would do that, and they probably won't do that.
They'll have some version of it, and like I said, hopefully it does well. Because I'm excited to see who this character is. Who's next?
Emma Frost.
Oh God, yeah.
I mean,
please, can we just not? You know what?
Because her origin story was very, 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 very clearly officially detailed in the comics, and it's great.
Yeah,
and it matches up with her, who is also was introduced in the Dark Phoenix saga, which, if you join our Patreon, we will eventually get to her origin story. Yeah. Her first appearance, not her origin story. So her origin story is quite specifically detailed in the comics, but I feel there's also plenty of room.
They really fleshed her out.
But there's also plenty of room. Right? It doesn't have to be exact because it's tied to Sebastian Shaw and it's tied to this and this sort of stuff. It doesn't have to be necessarily linked to that, as long as you get her beats right of poor little rich kid.
Yep.
Gay brother, goes out on her own, that sort of stuff.
Makes it on her own.
Girl boss. Like, she's the girl boss. That's the story I want to see.
Did you know that she's a gay icon? Nicholas. Did you know?
I did know that Emma Frost is a gay icon.
You should listen to our episode 50 where we talk about Emma Frost.
Why is Emma Frost a gay icon?
Yeah.
And you will see more. And you'll see why she should have an origin story, I think, in some format.
So basically,
I'm thinking TV show, but that's me because I prefer TV.
That'd be great, but I think the most important thing about her story is you have to get the casting right.
100%.
And it's so
100%.
difficult because she's such a. You have to have somebody who can either
girl boss.
She's just a girl boss. But you have to sort of really, really sell into this story. If you cast an actor who doesn't know anything about comic books or even anything about this, it's not gonna do it right.
She doesn't need the comic book knowledge. That's fine.
No, but you don't have to have all of it. But you have to be able to delve into the story.
You need an actress who can understand the difference, because this is a character who is so aggressively sexual, but that is not the core of her character. Mm-hmm. Someone who can understand those subtleties and like play her tits out, look at me, high heels, darling, fabulous. Yeah. But the core of her origin story of why we love her is all this broken insecurities inside and the juxtaposition, all that sort of stuff. So someone who can do that is what you need. And the right age, because she shouldn't be 20. She should be in her 30s.
She should be. Yeah, so when the X-Men come into the MCU at some point, like, I think she should be part of it.
Oh God,
I think
she is.
She's got a big history.
She will
with
be,
them.
and it's a really difficult casting. But again, that's because she's top two. My favorites.
I don't. So in terms of origins, I don't know if these have a lot of origins, but we've seen her in films. We saw her in X-Men First Class, where it was terrible. Her portrayal was terrible. I'm sorry.
Right look.
Jones.
Terrible.
Great looks. But again, written and directed by men. Man. Didn't really understand the whole concept of a female character like that. Needs to be directed by a female. Give her some proper lines and backstory. Not just tits.
A TV show kind of, the way that Jessica Jones in the season 1 explored that kind of arc of sexual assault, sexual abuse, that kind of very superhero way of looking at that kind of story. Giving her that kind of time to explore that journey of female empowerment, femininity, because when she gets her powers, she manipulates people and uses her sexuality as that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
That can come across so trashy and basic if the wrong person doesn't understand why she's doing that.
It will spoil it.
And
you
it's
can't have
such
that.
and it could be such an empowering, wonderful, fascinating this character who's doing anyway.
I don't remember.
We got to stop talking about Emma Frost. I'm getting too
Jessica
excited.
Jones got her powers though. What was her origin story? I watched the first
Accident
season.
with a lorry or some shit. I don't care. It was crap.
Oh, okay, fine.
But season one of
Sounds
Jessica
very Matt
Jones.
Murdock.
Season one of Jessica Jones is
Fantastic.
incredible. So something that kind of nuanced. She is a sexual abuse. Emma Frost is a sexual abuse survivor and a family abuse survivor, but also a rich girl and superpowered and all this kind of stuff. There is so much fun, so many cool stories if you get the right actor, the right director, the right writer for that. So Emma Frost, but we're a gay geek podcast. We weren't not going to mention Emma Frost,
of course. And the funny thing is, like, I know so little about her character before I even got into sort of all this X-Men stuff and really delve into it. And I love her more now because of talking to people like you and watching videos and playing games where she's a character and stuff like that. It's great.
I got some villains to kind of wrap it up. So
go for it.
Like I've got Vandal Savage is another one.
Never heard of him.
He's a DC one that's like eternal. He lives forever and can't die and that sort of stuff. Because you could tell whatever story you want. He's like Sebastian Shaw but doesn't die. And
okay.
God, they really stole Sebastian Shaw from Vandal Savage. It's really obvious now, isn't it? Like he's a Neolithic caveman who has lived, doesn't die.
Okay.
So he could do also. So you can do whatever you want with him. I think that'd be fun. Similarly, Apocalypse.
Yeah.
That's a really.
I mean, how deep can you go into Apocalypse?
Tons of stuff.
Okay.
But it's difficult because I think people think of that Oscar Isaac version.
Yeah. Oof.
And it was so plastic and bad. How you would I want these cool bonkers villains.
So what you want is basically a fleshed out
it.
backstory, but make it clear that it's the bad guy.
He is a bad guy. He is villainous, evil. And I don't mind like telling the story of like maybe he started out fine and then became evil as long as he is evil. Like, but he became evil in ancient Egypt. That was a fucking long time ago. So I love that also. Ancient Egypt. Fun vibes.
Yeah, that
would be fun.
Yeah.
And a final one, just to take us out of comic books, which they probably will do, Aegon the Conqueror.
Yeah. We need an origin story. Again, that's another instance where we don't have a lot of details, so they can make it.
Because we've talked about this, and when we just ranted about fan theories we saw on Reddit, like they will probably at some point they've got to do Aegon's conquest.
That's it. It's still in production. Like they're still aiming. They're hoping to make it something. Yeah.
But what I would love is fleshing out the character before the conquest to see, because again, we know of Aegon through the stories and the flashbacks and the books and that sort of stuff, talking about him like he's this iconic god figure. And it would be really cool if we could see what the truth is behind it. So this kind of biblical character who is, he's the start of their calendar. He is the most important in all of this kind of series. Like he resets how everyone sees the world. To see, is it true? Was he this kind of person?
Yeah.
Or is it stories that have evolved from that sort of stuff?
Or a mix of both.
A bit of both. And
I think you have to.
I think that's really.
That'd be really interesting to watch.
A wasted opportunity. Don't see more of that, because if we just go straight into him just being this big giant blonde guy fucking his sisters on a dragon,
I've just conquered Westeros,
which I'm here for, but also I want more than that. That feels very like we've seen, we can get that from stories. I want to see like how much of it is true, and like is this real, because he's such a iconic character.
Is he really as sort of, I don't know, strong as everyone
Yeah.
makes it. Is
Was
it all
it-
just legend and myth? And
Was it luck? Was it his sisters? Was it a fluke that he did this? Was it an
yeah.
you know, any of these things could be true. And then
why did
hundreds of years
why
later.
did he do that why did he move to Westeros in the first place? Because I think
Because they were there for generations on fucking Dragonstone. Why weren't they doing this?
Dragonstone, or do you mean Valyria? Because
Dragonstone, because he was born on Dragonstone.
Oh right, okay.
So like they were there before, like plenty of time before they invaded. They were just living there before Valyria blew up.
Yeah.
Then after Valyria blew up, they're
Yeah.
still living on this fucking rock, which was shit.
Yeah. Like why?
What's happened?
What's
There's
on the
politics.
island?
There's
Yeah.
politics going on there before he decided, or whoever made this myth of him conquering.
You have to. Yeah.
There is so much that we don't see in these Fire and Blood backstories and mysteries,
Yep.
that sort of stuff that you will never see. That is fucking cool.
There's so much detail that needs to be fleshed out there, and I think it's up to George R.R. Martin to
It does
decide.
have to be George
to
to see.
decide what the truth is, because the Droom, for example, is shrouded in so much mystery.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of theories, and as soon as you say this is what happened, that's it for
It
the
has
theories.
to be it. Yeah.
You know,
he does
that
need to
takes
just-
away people's agency to sort of speculate. And speculation is fun. Like theories are fun, but if you have a good story, you have to make sure that it's the right one.
He has to. Yeah, he does have to have final say in it, in that sort of thing.
And
Even if he doesn't write it,
he's not going to do it until he fucking finishes those 7 books.
I think he could do it before that. He knows what Aegon's
he'll do whatever he
story
wants to,
is.
to be
That sort of
honest.
stuff. That's all I've got. I'm fucking exhausted. That's enough.
That's fantastic. No, that was really great. I'm just sad we didn't drink more wine.
We should have had more wine, but we'll do another one.
Actually, I was just gonna say we could do it again. Like,
We
Um,
can drunk rant about any of the things we've already drunk ranted about again.
dear listener, if you have any ideas of things, of origin stories that you've seen too many times, or haven't seen enough, or want to see it again but better, let us know in the comments below. You can contact us on Instagram or on TikTok at Incomplete Geeks. We post stuff all the time. Follow us there while you're there. Send us an email at incompletegeekspodcast@gmail.com, because we love hearing from our listeners. Or follow us, go on Patreon. We have a Patreon now. I mean, you don't have to pay anything, but if you go there and support us, we will thank you to the ends of the earth. It's patreon.com/gaygeeks. Give us a little as $1 and $1 a month, I think it is. Just to sort of be part of the community. You can watch out for polls to tell us what to talk about next. Let us know what we've missed, because we can do this again.
Also, yeah, so if you want us to, so this is one of our drunk rant series. We've done these
Yes.
before. Do you want us to revisit them? Because we've done, what
Oh,
have we
God,
done?
yeah, a couple.
We've done retcons. We've done Star
Retcons,
Wars.
Wolverine.
We've done Wolverine. Do you want to? Do you want us?
Reboots. Oh, we
Yeah.
already said
Do you
reboots.
want us to drunk rant about any of them again? Did we miss any of those, or is there a topic you want us to drunk rant about? Because I'm happy to get drunk and rant about geeky things.
Yeah, we love hearing ideas and your theories as well. The best way to get hold of us is on the Patreon, to be honest, because that's a big community.
We're going to try and push for that. But you can also email us, incompletegeekspodcast@gmail.com. We'll read all the emails. Please let us know your ideas and what you would like us to rant about.
If we said anything today that was wrong, or we got anything,
Sure.
we missed something or missed a detail, whatever, we get things wrong once in a while. We're sorry. We love what we do, but we're not complete geeks.
We are working on it, though.
Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.
It's my foot. Sorry.
What the fuck was that?
My
What the
foot.
fuck was that? Okay, yes.
Put it back. Okay.
Okay.